Welcome to the 217 Recovery Podcast.
If you don't make mistakes, you won't learn.
With your host, Corey Winfield.
You know how fish is bad is you can't put it on pizza.
And special guest, Justin Burke.
I said something about that to our master radio broadcaster, and he said that he didn't hear nothing.
Got your ass.
It is Friday, January 10th, 2025. My name's Corey Winfield.
And I'm Justin Burke.
Welcome to the 217 Recovery Podcast. Justin Burke, very special day for you yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
It was your 5 years continued sobriety.
Yep.
How'd that feel?
It felt amazing, actually.
5 years.
5 years. I never thought I would achieve the things I did in 5 years. Like, when they talk about the promises and stuff, you know, how things take time and just trust the process and, like, really trust the process. And even though it's going to take some time, be okay with that. Because evidently there's somewhere else in your life that needs improving before the thing that you want to happen happens.
Yeah, I'm a stat guy. Used to be a huge stat guy, and I'm so dumb I would look up treatment centers based on their success rate, and I would call them and be like, what's your success rate? And because I wanted to know that, and they'd be like, 78%. If you ever call a place and you ask them that and they give you a number, hang up.
Yeah. Don't
go to that place because they're straight up lying to you because they don't know. They don't call back. Like, they can tell you how many people successfully complete treatment, but that's not what I was wanting to know. I wanted to know, was I going to be healed? Were they going to fix me?
And I think that's where they get their success rate from, is how many people actually complete their program from the people that don't.
Right. Which is not what I want to know. I want to be fixed. And I didn't realize at the time, that was like early on when I was going to treatment, I have to fix myself.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't go to treatment and expect them to fix you. Like, no one's going to fix you.
Not at all.
It's all on you.
It's on you being to have the willingness to be guided through a process of recovery. And by guided, I mean by the peers that are around you, whether if it's your sponsor, a recovery coach, or whoever that you talk to on a daily basis. Those are the people that's trying to guide you. It could even be the people in the treatment center while you're there for the 30, 60, 90 days that are trying to show you the right direction to take. And like, when I went through treatment, I found that out very quickly. Like, a lot of people told me, don't go to the sober living house because I wouldn't fit in. And you were like, no, you should really go there.
Yeah.
Like, you want a good life? Go there.
Yeah. And Jason DeBeck was the one throwing out numbers. And I remember he said one time, and they could be bullshit numbers or whatever, I don't know. But he was like, if you live in sober living for 6 months after treatment and you do what you need to do and successfully move out of sober living, you have like a 78% chance to make it to a year. And then he started throwing other numbers out. And I remember one, I want to say it was him who threw it out there, but he said if you make it to 5 years, you have like a 90 or 95% chance to remain sober the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah. So like 5 year mark, it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so congratulations on that. Good job. And then we had to go to a meeting last night.
Yep.
It used to be Families Against Narcotics. They changed their name to
Face Addiction now.
Yeah, so they're still FAN, but just different FAN.
Yeah.
And we were there, the 217 guys. We all showed up. Marnie came. Lil Parker was there.
Yep.
Corey, Jesse, Mitch. I mean, the whole crew pretty much. Missing a couple people, but the whole crew was there to show our support for Face Addiction now in Grand Traverse County. And they support us, and they actually have I guess you'd call it a scholarship for one of the services we provide as the transportation.
Yeah.
And,
yep.
You know, how it's funded right now, if somebody's in Region 2, which is NMRE, Northern Michigan, if they have Medicaid and they go to treatment and they have that, we can hook them up with a ride. But people who live in Lansing and in Southwest Michigan and other areas, they can't use the services because they have a different
PIHP
that, does their Medicaid and stuff. And there's also people who have insurance but don't have $300-400 to get to treatment,
Exactly.
and that sucks. But FAN stepped in and they're like, hey, we can help out and kind of get those people where they need to go. So we're like, all right, cool. So they did, I don't know, it was 5 rides that they
Yeah, pretty much on
Sponsor something like that.
average, like 5 to 7 rides.
Yeah. So in September when they started talking about, hey, we want to help out. So yeah, big props to them on that. And we wanted to show our support for them. And Jeff, who's the president, comes to our events and he supports us. I'm like, we have to support them, you know?
Yeah.
And the last few meetings, they didn't have one in December, but I think November and October we were busy and nobody could make it.
I actually went to the one in November.
Did you?
Yep. Because that's when he said there was going to be board opportunities on FAN.
Oh, that's right.
And I came back to you because I took Justine because you said I should really go to that.
Yeah.
And I actually had the time. I said, well, if you don't mind me cutting out a few minutes of work early to be able to go get my daughter and take her to it, because she enjoys hanging around Jeff and Ann and the rest of the board members there. Like, she's actually become part of who I am up here, and everybody knows her. They're like, well, where's your daughter at?
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of a great feeling to actually have that. But he said there was open board seats in November, and I came back and asked you, I was like, would you support me if I did that? You know, because sometimes they do their own things, you know, and on the weekends it means I would be doing stuff for them, and if that was okay, you know. And you were like, no, I totally support that. And I filled out my application, finished filling it out yesterday. I asked Mitch for a little bit of help. I was like, don't worry about hurting my feelings. Just tell me the truth, because I'm not really good at really deciding like skills for myself, if that makes any sense.
Obviously.
And like, sometimes I'm a little too blunt. And so I'm like, well, I don't think this one would work. And he's like, yeah, no. He was like, you're not the best at that, Justin. He's like, you know what you're talking about, but you don't articulate good enough to be able to do that.
Obviously.
So thanks, Mitch.
Having fun with the board. Yeah, and Mitch is on the board as well for FAN, and I suggested he do that like last year and stuff because he wanted to be more involved in the community and the recovery community and stuff like that. And it's like, it's a good way to be involved, you know, is to get out and do things. Mm-hmm. If you just come to work and go home, like, sure, you accomplish some things, but to be a real part of it, you know, and kind of step into a different role. And I think it's kind of big that we do kind of stuff like that. But you get accepted onto the board.
Yep.
And then they say, does anybody want to be, we have some open seats in our, you know, executive board member positions, and we're looking for vice president. We're looking for treasurer, secretary.
Well, secretary was already off the table for me.
Right. Yeah. You were going to mess with the money.
I'm not good at typing. I mean, I can type, but it's like chicken peck. I never learned how to type in school. I may have allegedly paid someone else to do all my typing lessons to pass typing class.
So you're just like, I'll just go for vice president.
Well, treasurer, I mean, I could handle numbers.
You know, Excel a little bit.
Yeah. Well, right. I do know a little bit from doing our invoices here and stuff, and how we record our data. How we've talked about recording our data and everything else. So I'm pretty fluent in that stuff. So treasurer wouldn't have been too bad, but vice president?
Why not, right?
Why not? The least responsibility role, and you're the vice president. It's like being the vice president of the United States.
Oh, I was like, oh my God. And then Corey Smoker, our very own Corey Smoker, she's like, wait a minute. Can I just get my board application to you then too? Because I'll be secretary. So then she steps into secretary.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like we're 217 Recovery's taking this over. And I jokingly said at the end, I'm like, they're not on our boards, but they're on this board. That's great, you know. But we'll see. I hopefully you guys aren't biting off more than you can chew. And like you said, what does the vice president do?
Fill in for Jeff when he's not there.
Right.
Which he told me in April he won't be there, which I'm kind of nervous about that because, like, I mean, I've gone to a few fan meetings over the years, but to actually have to step in and fill that role, like, I'm actually kind of nervous.
How mad would you be if there's a fan meeting the night that we go to the Tigers game? and Jeff's there and you're not. Just like, sorry, I'm going to the Tigers game.
Yeah. Well, I think we would invite them.
To cancel the meeting then, hey?
Well, if it's just a board meeting.
A board meeting.
I mean, I'm sure we could rearrange that a little bit. Yeah. Say, sorry, 217's invited us all out to the Tigers game with them.
Yeah.
You know, do you guys mind postponing the meeting for a week? Let's go have some fun in recovery.
Lots of fun and recovery to be had.
Because we took Jeff last year to the Tigers game,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, Jeff went with us.
So, I mean, that's nothing new that we don't that we do play well with others and in our community and everything else with inviting them.
Can you believe they're still together?
Who?
All the shit they've been through.
Fan? We're the Tigers.
No, your butt cheeks.
Dang.
Zinger, gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was waiting this whole
Zinga.
podcast to do that joke. That's freaking Nah, but yeah, congrats on the 5 years and, on the role of being vice president and, your continuing journey
Yeah.
in recovery and then the recovery community around here. It means a lot to be involved, man, and to have those responsibilities. And you might look at it like, oh, there's not a lot to do, but there are some responsibilities,
Yeah.
And like you said, you're already kind of nervous about it, but it'll all work out how it's supposed to. But to just sit back and go, I wish I would have been on the board. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. There's a lot of things I don't have to say because I just went out and did it. I was on
Right.
fans board for a minute and then it was a little too much for me. I had to step down. I was human rights commissioner here in Traverse City for a while. Then Parker's birth, I was like, I really don't have time for this. And we're trying to expand and do different things at 217 Recovery. It's like, I can't do it. Like I got on the Marco board, which Marco is the Michigan Association of Recovery Community Organizations. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to stand that. I'm so busy trying to do this thing and do this. And I really don't have a lot of time for tomfoolery too.
Right.
And
you hold a lot of meetings just for what we do here and what we're trying to do in the future.
right.
So like when someone says, "Oh, well, we got a Marco meeting or a QRT meeting or whatever," you're like, "Man,
Yeah.
can I just skip this today? Like I got something else more important to do."
I know. And there's a lot of times where, I would skip those meetings. And I thought to myself, like, how do these people have time to go to so many meetings? Like, I just think that in radio, they would have meetings in Benton Harbor anyway. They would have meetings just to have meetings. They had one time had a meeting about a meeting that was coming up. And I said, you got to be shitting me. Like, I have a radio station to run. I have stuff to do. And you guys are having a meeting about the upcoming meeting. That it's stupid. Like nothing's going to happen. It wasn't like an important, like, oh, we got it. No, it was just, they had nothing else to do in their job. And so they like to have meetings. It makes them feel good. But I'm not a big fan of that. Like I'll have a meeting when I need one.
Right.
And I'm not talking about AA meetings or recovery meetings. I'm talking about just like a meeting, a business meeting, but some of these are just like, oh my God.
Well, honestly, if you're actually running things right, I mean, as the executive director, I mean, like you have a lot on your plate with just day-to-day operations, looking for new grants and everything else. Like these grants just don't land in your lap.
Sometimes. No, just kidding. No, but you're right. And, like I said, the things that we want to do, and I know Marnie's a big part of that too, and she's picking up the slack in that aspect of like spinning off a totally different direction, which I think would be great for us.
Yeah.
I personally can't invest much time in that project because we have to do what we're doing now because we do have funding and we do have things that we have to accomplish with these grants that we have now. So it's like we got to take care of business here, but doesn't mean we can't expand and do other things. It just I can't be that much invested in that project. Like at the end of it, I can just look at some things and go, okay, maybe this, maybe that. But if you guys want to make it happen, this is your baby.
Right.
And I told her, this is your baby. You can go figure that one out.
And I'll help you with it, but just bring me like a rough draft of the project.
Yeah, and I've been praying.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it right there. And some people are like, oh, I don't believe in that. And well, that's cool. Don't. I do. And God has helped me, and he will come to me in dreams. You know, he doesn't come down and be like, hey, do this. But I'll just have a weird dream, and I'll be like, why didn't I think about that? You know, and then I'm like, damn, there was a grant that came out that said those exact words. And let me go back and see. And I'm like, yep, we could have funded that with that. Dang. But when I saw it, I didn't even think about it because it wasn't on my mind. It wasn't on my radar. And that's why I'm saying, like, God, like, talks to me because he puts it in my head and it's like, boom, like, do this.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn.
And that's actually been well known through a lot of different cultures that the Creator, God, whatever your pathway is, will come to you in dreams and things like that. Or just maybe by hearing a clip on a radio station or something, you know, like ding, light bulb. Oh, he was definitely talking. That was there for that exact time for me to listen to it because that was talking to me.
Yeah. So I do my praying, and then as I'm praying about it, then all of a sudden people start reaching out like, hey, how come that this doesn't exist? And how would we do that? And I'm like, that's what we're working on. You want to be a part of it? Because we can definitely use the support.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys are saying, hey, we need this, and let's talk, let's chat, you know, because we're already kind of going down that road.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting, but yeah, it does take up time, though, and when you're involved in other things, but it's a good thing because at least you won't ever look back and go, man, I wish I would have been on the fan board. Right. I wish I would have just went for it. I wish I would have done it to gain more experience and, you know, to meet more people and to be more involved. And you can sit on the sideline all day, but sometimes you got to get in the game.
Yeah, and I know a few of the board members for FAN from a previous organization I worked at. So, I mean, it's not horrible.
Right. And our phone is ringing.
Yeah, I heard that. When did your
Obviously.
phone start ringing in your office?
When people don't answer it at the front desk.
I thought that thing was on silent.
No.
Oh, you changed it?
Yeah, someone changed it. Now it rings and irritates us when we're doing podcasts. No, it doesn't irritate us, but it does irritate us when it's the people calling that the wrong numbers, or not the wrong numbers, but they have a right number, but just that person hasn't lived here in 5 years.
Is Jane there?
Is Mary there? Yeah, that gets old. And we're like, no, please don't call back. And then they cuss us out. And we're like, I just said not to call back, man.
Right.
Like,
We both experienced that
yeah.
in the same day.
Just take us off your list. No. I'm like, what? Mary doesn't live here.
Right.
And sometimes we get animated with it. Sometimes it is fun, though. But a lot of times it's more irritating because you'll be on the other side of the building and then phone ringing and you got to go find it and you get it. And they're like, hello, is Mary there? And you're like, no.
Yep.
Click. And they don't even say bye.
No,
They just hang up on you. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I shouldn't feel bad hanging up on them next time.
not one bit.
Yeah. But yeah, today though is a Friday in Michigan. It's a little cold. I mean, it's January. That's what happens. But
It's been snowing.
out in California, man.
Man, they are burning up, dude.
Are they?
Yeah, the whole LA region.
Are they?
It's on fire.
Are they? Are we getting fake news?
I don't think it's fake news. I do think there has to do with something with the president to be elected, telling them 4 or 5 years ago that, hey, you really need to fix this before something devastating happens, and no one bothered to fix it. They were given monies to build reservoirs, and reservoirs were never built in these areas. And just so happened to be these strong winds come in, like hurricane force winds. They call them like the Sierra winds or something. And someone decided they were going to go light some fires where maybe a telephone pole broke and sparked a fire.
I heard it started in someone's backyard garden.
I'm really not for sure. The one fire, the newest fire, they did catch someone leaving the area where the fire was started. Is he just the fall guy?
I don't know. He's the patsy.
Yeah.
Because my brother who lives out there, because I was like, bro, like, what's going on? He lives in West Hollywood. I'm like, dude, why are you starting fires in your back garden? And he said it wasn't him. And he took a picture and sent it to us, and you could see some kind of burning or whatever. And I was like, so are you going to evacuate? And he's like, no. I was like, this is not that bad. Is the news, are they exaggerating it? He's like, both. He's like, some under exaggerate it, others over exaggerate it. You know, and I think the national ones are over exaggerating it. But some of the videos coming in are crazy, man. Like I saw this one dude, he had like this sprinkler system, or I don't even know what it's called, but it's set up to like just kind of just seeps out water all over his house. And he's in there with his kid or whoever it was and their dog, and they're just watching the fire like we'd be watching the snow fire. I mean, it looked crazy, man.
I did see that video, actually. I'm like, how did someone take that video?
Like, how would they stop? I'd be out, bro. I wouldn't trust that little sprinkler system or whatever he had, you know, on his house. And my brother was telling me that that's kind of a common thing out there, and a lot more common than you'd think. And I don't think he has it in his house, but he knows somebody who does, and he's like, yeah, they're fine. Like their house, everybody else's house burned down but theirs.
And then I heard California defunded the fire department in LA like dramatically.
I don't know about that. I know that they like the little fire hydrants that they have, like you were talking about the water system, like it's only enough for like a house.
Yeah, a house,
not the whole block.
Right.
Like they didn't put it in, they don't have it like that.
It's not like Michigan, you know. I mean, it's really not.
Mm-hmm. But you'd think though, because a lot of those homes, they won't. And I guess 6 months ago they went ahead and stopped doing wildfire insurance in LA. Like they wouldn't even offer it.
Yeah, because and that's another thing that really strikes me funny is, okay, Allstate, State Farm were the two major ones that pulled out because they're like, well, if we were to charge them wildfire insurance, it would be like through the roof. California limits how much you're allowed to charge for insurance as like a premium. They're like, well, it doesn't fit our budget at that rate, so we can't offer it. And I do know years ago they were talking about how much shrub and just stuff needed to be cleaned up, you know, in certain areas in case this did ever happen. And here we are. It happened.
Yeah, but you think though, with the money that you'd save on that, not having to get that insurance, you would just buy a sprinkler system and put it in your house or roof or what those other people did. Because, okay, that costs $10,000 to do it. All right. Think of the money you're saving that you don't have to pay insurance, you know, and at least fire insurance. I mean, I don't know if I have fire insurance.
Well, I'm kind of curious how these people still had water to protect their home when all the hydrants were empty.
I think that comes from a whole different water system. Like if you turn on your tap water, it's not going to be the fire. You're not taking from the fire hydrant.
No, not typically.
Yeah, so maybe they have it hooked into their water. They have a high-ass water bill probably, but at least they have a house. You can work with a water department.
Right.
Hey, can we just pay half fees on that?
And for anyone listening, we're not being insensible to anybody out there.
I really don't know what I'm talking about.
Our hearts really do go out to the people that live in LA and who have lost their homes, because they said 2 days ago the damage exceeded over $50 billion.
Wow.
And today, I think that number's probably at least doubled, if not tripled. I mean, there's Malibu beach homes gone.
Damn.
Yeah, like it's devastating out there right now. It's just as devastating as the hurricane that hit Tennessee and North Carolina.
Damn.
You know, just a different natural disaster. One was water, one was fire, you know, and it's devastating.
And I was going to play a clip on the podcast. It was about this news reporter that was doing a news report about, hey, the fire's happening, and we're out here, and this guy just nonchalantly walks up and was like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, well, nothing, the fire. And he's like, yeah, there's fires, huh? And she's like, yeah, there are. And he's like, that's wild or something. And then he asked how they started, and she's like, well, I don't know. I don't know how they started. And then he blames a certain group of people for the fire starting. And the other news guy said it was very inappropriate.
Yeah.
And they kind of moved on, but it was way better. Remember that was going around back in the day when people would jump on and say blank her right in the blank.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of a national thing. Like
It was for a long time.
yeah, the one dude started it and then other people just continued it, and blank her right in the blank.
Right.
And so at least it's moved on from that, I guess. But who he blames for the fire, I don't think is it.
No, not at all.
I think that was wild speculation.
Very wild.
It was still kind of funny to hear him say it, though.
I wouldn't even guess that spectrum of people.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Not from what they portray at all, because that's just not them.
Maybe. But for that being the reason, it was just stupid.
Yeah.
But it was funny. And you said, no, we should not play that on the
No,
podcast.
we shouldn't.
So we're not going to play you the audio, but if you just Google search, man on the news in LA blames fires on people.
Yeah.
You'll find it. It's all over
Yeah.
the internet. So you can find it if you want to seek that out. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and not play that audio just because
Yeah.
Obviously.
it's inappropriate.
Maybe 15 years ago we could have got away with it.
Oh, I'd have made a song out of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But in today's day and age, no.
Yeah, because some it would hurt some people's feelings, maybe.
Yeah.
But what my brother living out there though, he does say that some of it seems a little overkill, and he said the others are just kind of like way underkill.
Yeah.
But the damage is happening, and yeah, that would suck, man. And I told him I just have snow to deal with.
Yeah. Well, the part that really sucks is like the whole Palestine, if I believe I'm saying that part of LA right, that's just gone. And I think that's where the first fire started. And that's just, that whole community is gone. And I wouldn't say they're necessarily like overly rich, but people that have done well for themselves live there. It's a family area, if that makes any sense, It'd be like kind of living like where you live at, It's not crazy expensive to live there, but it's not the cheapest place to live neither,
Call my mansion petty.
I didn't call it petty, dude. I didn't call it petty. I said you weren't in the hood,
Damn,
but you're definitely not in the gated community.
I'm in the hills. I got hills.
You are in the
Hollywood.
hills, yeah.
I'm on the Holiday Hills, not the Hollywood Hills, but
Right.
that's all right.
But that's what I'm saying. That's where I would kind of graph that one area that did burn drastically. The most devastating area would be kind of like your community where you live at.
Yeah, they were saying that celebrities and stuff that have lost their house and stuff. It's like, feel bad for them. Dude,
Musicians,
that would suck, man. Fire's no joke.
Yeah.
Like tornadoes and fires, I'm not a fan.
No. I mean, I do. Eventually, one year, I do want to go out to like Oklahoma during tornado season. I really do.
I have nothing. There's no. It's stupid. Dumbest thing I think you've said in the last 30 minutes.
It probably is, but I don't know. Tornadoes have always fascinated me ever since I was a kid.
Tornadoes don't care.
They don't.
They don't get like fire. Like fire doesn't care either.
No, and I've been struck by fire. I've had a house burnt down.
I've been struck by fire.
Yep. Well, not like struck, but I had a house burnt down when it was 2019.
Also recently, kind of.
Yeah, lost everything I owned.
Damn.
Yep. I actually dug through the ashes of the house fire to find my grandmother's ashes because I knew kind of where they were at.
So you just
when
grab
you
the
go
urn,
back,
it's all sitting there, and you're like, I'll throw some of these back in there.
well,
Call
no,
it good.
I can't even open the urn anymore. It's all seized together from being through a fire and stuff. But I actually, because I had a dresser set up, like a long dresser, and where I was staying at, we didn't have room for the nightstands. So we put the nightstands up on top of the dresser. It was kind of weird, I know.
What in the Baldwin, Michigan you have going on there, buddy?
It may have been a little tweaker status for a little bit. Maybe a lot of it.
How'd the fire start?
My guess would be a faulty extension cord. Because when I went to go unplug my girlfriend's phone from the charger, I got zapped. And I'm like, okay, whatever. because I was most likely high on meth.
We'll just plug that back in later.
Yeah, and I left. I went to go take her to work. And by the time I got back home, which was her mom's guest house, it was already engulfed. And I just, from sitting where I was sitting at, because the house was down this crazy hill, in the wintertime, there was no getting a car out of there unless you had four-wheel drive. I didn't care how good of tires you had on a front-wheel drive car. It wasn't climbing that hill. And so I would park on top of the hill and walk down. And, well, when I parked, I just got done putting in a wood stove like a week before that.
Okay, maybe it was the wood stove you put in.
Well, that's what I thought when I was just sitting there talking on the phone, seeing smoke. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Wood stove's going. House is nice and warm. And here I am for 40 minutes sitting in my car. And after I realized what was going on, I'm just like, fuck. I just watched my house burn down and just didn't give two shits. Because I was high and I just thought it was my wood stove going. Talking to somebody on the phone.
This house is just engulfed in flames. And you're like, oh, wood stoves look working pretty good today.
Yeah. And it was weird, man. But I did lose everything I owned. And that was the only thing that I actually found out of the fire. But
did you go get your girlfriend from work and be like, yo, or did you just let her finish her shift? Not worry about that.
I told her, may as well stay at work. We need that money to go buy new shit now. I mean, what else do you do, at that point? It's not like you can come home and save anything.
Right.
You don't have anything to come home to, I mean, I did tell her. But at the same point, well, you may as well keep working because we're going to need to figure out something to get new clothes and everything, dude. It was rough.
Yeah, I don't wish that upon anyone.
No.
That's bad stuff, bad news. But at least you're safe, I guess, and at least you weren't there when it happened. I mean, even if you were there when it happened, maybe you could have called the fire department or something. But
it would have took the fire department 20 minutes to get there. It would have been gone anyways. It was an old 60s trailer that had an addition built onto it, almost like the full length. So, and that was the guest house.
The Baldwin.
Man, don't act like you don't ever see a trailer with an addition in Coloma.
Nope, I never have.
Never?
No.
Well, if you go a little
Coloma's
far,
not the fanciest place. That's where I grew up. That's where went to school. But no.
Well, if you go a little farther north, like Pullman and stuff like, it's rather common.
There's nothing in Pullman. There's just meth trailers out there. Straight up. Told the police about it, and they're like, "Yeah, people don't make their own meth anymore. They just buy it from Mexico." I'm like, dude, it's not Walmart. Yes, they do. They just don't bust them anymore. They don't care, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird. Crazy. But yeah, that happened to me, and then like I just dove deep into addiction for about a year and a half after that, and ended up coming up here.
So did the whole trailer burn down though, or just your little addition?
The addition burnt down, and then like the front part of the trailer burned up. Like the back half was all like okay, but it was heavily smoke damaged. Like there was nothing in my daughter's room salvageable, and the fire didn't even get back there, just from all the soot and smoke damage that carried to the back.
So what did her mama say about it?
Her mama didn't really know what to say,
My trailer gone.
Yep.
Oh Lord Jesus, there's a fire.
But what do? You pick up and you got to move on with life.
So where'd you go after that?
I ended up turning one of the sheds in the property into like a living space.
Back to Baldwin. Yeah, ready to go. All right.
Yeah, I mean, tweaker status all the way.
You're probably like, nothing. We've been waiting to live in this shed anyway.
It worked
Put
for
a
the
window
meantime.
over here.
We ended up getting a fifth wheel I got from a friend of mine for, I don't know, like $1,000. And another buddy of mine hauled it there for me. So, I mean, that's, as far as I know, she still stays in that fifth wheel. And it was kind of ran down when we bought it. It was just like a temporary thing, like cheap, but it was like 38 foot fifth wheel. So,
wow.
But yeah.
You should start a podcast called The Baldwin Files or something.
Oh no.
Just talking about how people living in Baldwin, Michigan. how they do it.
Some spots are rough. Very redneck hillbilly engineering.
That's finest.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'm glad you came on the podcast today, and we could celebrate your 5 years with a little fun podcast and talk about fires in Baldwin.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
No
coming in,
problem.
and I hope you have a great weekend and go Lions on their bye week.
Yeah, go Lions.
Bet you they're not going to lose this week.
Right.
Who do you got in the playoffs, real quick?
What
It's-
to like?
Like this week, it's the Chargers versus the Texans, and you got Pittsburgh versus Baltimore, and you have the Eagles playing somebody. And
Hang on, I'm gonna go look it up right now. So, why don't you Google it on your computer, and I'm gonna look it up, and then we can figure out how this is, and we'll.
I think the
that.
Eagles are playing the Packers,
I think so.
and then Minnesota and the Rams. They should change their name to the LA Fires. LA Fire. No, I like Minnesota to win, and it'll be interesting because if Minnesota wins, it won't be interesting because they're going to come back and play Detroit in Detroit. But if Stafford can win and then have to come back again, would they make that the primetime game, Stafford coming back to Detroit, or would they still be all over Mahomes?
Probably still all over.
Oh, that'll
Mahomes.
be the late game.
The repeat.
I hope Detroit doesn't have late game because they're going to have a watching party at
Yeah.
the 217 Recovery Center.
But as far as the AFC goes, you know, I'd really kind of like to see the Broncos try to go somewhere. I know they got to play the Bills, and Josh Allen's just going to murder them. They're playing in Buffalo, so that game's kind of goes to the Bills. Who else is above them? And then you got the Ravens versus, I'm not really for sure right offhand.
Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers. Now that could be a nasty little game. Mm-hmm. Depends on how Russell Wilson wants to play.
And Baltimore hasn't been good in the playoffs for
No.
a while, so
No, so I mean, honestly, I'd like to see the Steelers win, and then the Texans beat the Chargers. But Texans have kind of like shot themselves in the foot lately over the past 5 weeks. So I don't know how they even made the playoffs.
yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, they made the playoffs because they've been playing
Yeah.
like crap. So what about the Packers, Eagles?
I don't know, man. That one's hard. I'd like to see the Packers win, even though I'm not a cheesehead. I just, Eagles don't need to do nothing.
Yeah.
You know, but they rested everybody, so they got pretty much like a bye. Mm-hmm. They did the same thing the Chiefs did pretty much. Oh, week 18, we're going to rest everybody. You know, I heard some players, it was their decision to sit on the bench and not break records. So,
Yeah. I don't want the Eagles to win, but I think the Eagles will beat the Packers.
yep.
I think that the Texans will lose, so I got the Chargers on that one. I'm going to take the Ravens, even though they haven't really played well in the playoffs lately. And I'll take the Bills over Denver.
How about Buccaneers and Commanders?
I'm going to take the Bucks.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to take the Bucks?
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Commanders.
I'm going to take Minnesota over LA.
I wouldn't do that. I'm going to take LA over Minnesota.
Okay.
Sam Darnold had a good year, but I mean, after watching last week's game, shoot, the Rams ain't no slouch this time of year. Like, they've been playing on fire for the past 6-7 weeks.
And I still don't know how the Seahawks didn't get it in the playoffs. I'm so confused. Because they have the same record as the Rams. Like, I don't know whatever the deciding factor of that was, but
I think
they
the Rams
split with the Rams during the regular season.
It came down to divisional games, and I think when
Rams had a better divisional record or
yeah,
something.
yep.
Yeah. I would have liked to seen Seattle in there, but whatever. We'll see. And that's our playoff picks as we wrap up the podcast. But thanks for listening. And if you want more episodes, feel free to listen. They're on the app and at 217recovery.com.
Later.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. Listen to over 900 episodes on the 217 Recovery app that's free in your app store or online at 217recovery.com.